Welcome to the Eye of the Observer podcast, the podcast of the Observer news staff. On Eye of the Observer, we'll be interviewing the newsmakers and fascinating personalities at Elgin Community College. Or sometimes we'll be talking about news or cultural topics among ourselves to inform and entertain you. Today's podcast is sponsored by Columbia College of Missouri. Begin a new chapter at Columbia College of Missouri in Elgin, offering flexible, affordable degrees for real lives and real responsibilities. Located locally on the ECC campus, you can take classes in person or online, all at your own pace. Hi, my name is Vanch.
My name is Moises.
I'm Matt.
And today we're going to talk about college apps. It's the season at the moment. You're about to turn in your first ever college apps if you're your first year, or you're going to transfer out. Deadlines are always sporadic, but today we're here to inform you about what should and shouldn't be on your college apps.
So as a student that doesn't have any knowledge about transferring or anything like that, when I came to ECC, I didn't have a goal set up. I didn't even know I was going to come here for a degree. I just came here for just to take classes and get it out the way. I was never introduced anything with transferring. So a couple questions that I have is what is the Common App? Where do we even start with this? Where do we even start with the Common App?
The Common App is basically the central hub where you fill out all your college applications so that you can move on from high school or move on from your college and then go to another institution. So college app usually comprises of your background, your personal essay, your activities, and other things that make you a student, especially your GPA. When you're applying as a first year, it differs than if you're applying as a transfer. Do you know the difference or no?
I think I kind of saw the differences when I went to NIU. Doesn't a first year have to do a little bit more than a transfer because of the amount of credits and experience one has with the college?
Yeah, so I'll say that they're both pretty different when it comes to what you do. A first year student, usually when they're applying as a first year, you don't have enough credits to have a degree yet. So you're applying usually out of high school and you're planning to go into a four-year institution. So because there's less experience from you, they probably will ask you a lot more. Of course, the basic information is your ethnicity, your educational background, what you did in high school, and your GPA are basic things. But they also have sometimes some pretty complicated writing supplements. Some are simple and repetitive and kind of seen everywhere, whereas some are super unique.
Okay. And I know that at the beginning I did mention that I didn't have a goal then, but now I do. I'm currently enrolling into Columbia College of Chicago for a bachelor's in audio arts. And something that I did notice on the application when I was submitting was if you have less than 12 college credits, then you do have to take some exam, which would be the SAT if you took the SAT exam or the ACT exam in high school, or you would have to redo some pre-exams there to kind of figure out what college classes to take. Same thing here at ECC. So I'm guessing that that's one of the differences when it comes to first year and transfer students.
Yeah, there are definitely some differences and requirements. I know I'm not an expert, but I know when talking to lots of admissions counselors, they always said that being a first year, they don't expect a ton of things that'll transfer over unless you took AP, and that's kind of its own thing. But when you're applying as a transfer, they need to make sure you're already, I guess, you've already completed enough things to go on and finish your degree. So, I've talked to people here as well at ECC. My career advisor, Mrs. O'Hara, gave me a lot of information about how there are differences. And yeah, they would actually, if I didn't complete some credits here, they would have actually made me probably take an exam.
So something that I would like to jump in on as first year students, excluding if you're a dual enroll or dual credit, first year students actually generally do have to take the exam just to see if they're getting placed in certain levels of chemistry or whatnot. Most colleges, they don't do this. They take your SAT score, ACT score. Some colleges, they do require you to take the exam if you're first year just to see where you'd fall in their kind of prerequisites. For example, at Elgin Community College, we have something called the ALEX placement exam, which places us in a math course here. For example, if you get a 70 something, then you'll be placed in calculus. You can take one level lower, you can't take one level higher though. It's your max level of math. I thankfully placed out of all the levels of math, well, not all of them, but I was placed in calc, and I ended up taking trig because I didn't have that bridge yet, especially since I'm a dual credit student. But moving on, that's just one example of how schools can take your SAT score and still make you do a
Certain amount of tests to see where you qualified to fit in.
Yeah, and then a couple of other things I guess that's worth mentioning is they always give you the option to take the test because if you think you can do better than what you got based on your SAT score, obviously they won't stop you. For example, the Alex test you can take up to 5 times. I think per year. Matt, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Is it 5 times per year?
It's in general 5 times on
In
that
general,
account.
5 times.
And they have a reading section too, so it's not just math.
It's like reading, English, and math.
Yeah.
And I think the one that's the hardest personally from taking was the math.
Yeah, and I know the testing was optional. I honestly didn't think you had to take it anywhere, but I'm sure it's just an option that people have, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I think in this case scenario would be for like students that either missed the ACT or SAT in high school or didn't take it as serious, but now wants to come to college. I think that's where the those exams would come in fit as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So to move on to the next question that I have about transfers and first years is what should I put on my application?
So there's a variety of things you could really add. Something I really stressed on my application. My GPA is good, but I also have like a lot of extracurriculars. So if like you're, I don't know, if you're doing audio engineering, right, Moises?
Yes.
So if you put on there that you're an audio engineer for the Eye of the Observer podcast, that'll help you have a good resume. People reviewing your application will be like, oh, this guy has knowledge in the field he wants to go into. He's did audio engineering work for a podcast on a college level newsletter.
That makes sense. It's kind of like a job application on a resume where you want to put the actual like important things that make sense when you're applying rather than putting a bunch of other random stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I know like when I was getting my college apps done, something my counselor would always tell me, again, Mrs. O'Hara really helped me out with this, is because I want to do medicine, make sure to emphasize how your activities could connect to medicine. So like I'm going to be honest, I didn't have a lot of opportunity to do medical related clubs at EC or BHS just because I had like a busy schedule. And I think at my high school, I couldn't really find any that were really engrossing. So I decided to just connect everything I did to healthcare. That makes sense.
And so let me ask you this question and correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but you are a PTK officer of the fundraiser?
It's for fellowship, actually.
Fellowship. So do you think that putting that in your college application, would that be a great fit or do you think it would be irrelevant?
For sure, I think it's a good fit. It involves creating events, planning things with other people, collaborations, getting to know people. I feel like it helps with, so if I want to do medicine, it really helps establish, I guess, a sense of ethos or credibility. Like, this guy knows what he's doing because he often talks to people. And in healthcare, it's half of it's hospitality, really, if you think about it.
Even worth mentioning, any leadership position that you've held before, a lot of people tell you to put that down. The more leadership positions you handled and whatnot, that's how it defines you being a team player, a leader, and whatnot. So let's say, for example, I'm vice president of Phi Theta Kappa Sorority Kappa chapter. I want to put that down to emphasize that I have a leader stance, right? I'm a leader and I work with the team, and that's what you kind of want to emphasize as well. Activities on the Common App, there's a tab actually called Activities. That's where you put all this down. Irrelevant or relevant, it doesn't really matter at this point, but the more extracurriculars that you put down that are in some way relevant to your major, overall major, if you're undecided, you can really put generically anything you've done that's like accomplishments. The more you put, the more you kind of diversify yourself. For example, on my Common App, I put down, like for the Observer, staff photographer. I put down my role as podcast director. For PTK, I put down like my vice president role and that I was a member. And then I put down a couple of other things too, like clubs I've been a part of, what leadership roles I've held in the past, because it's not limited to what you've done in 1 year. It's limited to what you've done over your high school career. And this is just for first years. For transfers, it's the same thing. It's just college career. And one big part about activities is you can also put your work. For example, I'm going to pharmacy, so I definitely want to put pharmacy technician work. And there's a paid section, there's a section that says paid. So then your employer, how long you've worked there, what you do there, what certifications you hold. That's what it asks for. And at least for me, I put down all the certifications I held and whatnot and how I progressed. And that I think personally helps me a lot more because I'm going to pharmacy. But if you have that experience, that's great to have as well.
So I got two more questions about what to put on my application, and then we're going to head out to the next question. So the two questions, the first one would be, I heard in high school and coming into college that joining clubs would look really good on college applications, especially when you're transferring to a 4 year. In your opinion, or not even in your opinion, but like in your experience, do you think that's relevant to applications?
Yes. The more you're active in your high school community or college community, it shows colleges that you're not the type of person to just be there just to,
Study.
study. Not to study, but just to be there.
Yeah.
It shows that if you're engaging in campus life, student life, that you're doing something monumental. And I think, especially that I put this down for sure, was I started the first student-led podcast, Eye of the Observer, and that's what it classified as. So I put that down, and that was a monumental thing on my Common App out of everything. And I think that held more weight than me saying a couple years ago, right? Like in a club or event, like from a couple years ago. That holds more weight. So it's really good to be active in your school community in general, but for the Common App, it's more not required, but
It looks
necessary.
good.
It
just
looks very.
So then the last question to this question would be, you did mention something about you having experience because of your work title, a certified pharmacy technician. So I am going for audio arts and bachelor's again. And this question doesn't just apply to me. It just applies to a certain group of students that probably have the same situation as me. I have a different career at the moment. I have a job that's also a certified pharmacy tech, but obviously I'm pursuing a whole different degree that's not in the medical field. Do you think putting my job on that college application would make sense, or do you think I should just like not put it in there at all?
Right. So you should definitely put that in there. I guess it depends on how long you've worked there. If it's a recent job, I would err at the side of caution.
Okay.
But if you've been there for a while, I'd definitely put that down. What they do really, and honestly, it all depends. For example, my major is pharmacy, but to some colleges, they didn't have a pharmacy program, so I put bachelor's of chemistry, bachelor's of biology. But my background isn't there.
Okay.
Right. In your case, though, I would put down you do freelance client work. Like I would put something like that down as well, or try to move towards it.
Like something more relevant to what I'm going for.
Right. And if it comes to the point where you use all 10 of your activity selects, because you only get 10. If you use all 10, I wouldn't cut work out, I'd cut something else out. Because the longer that you've been with that particular company and it shows on your resume, and if you show that you progressed in that position over the years, that shows more than you starting an audio job 2 months just to get it on the Common App.
All right, to move on to the next question is, where should I even apply?
When it comes to being a first year student, there's usually like a set of recommendations of how you should apply. There are 3 types of schools you can really apply to: safeties, targets, and reaches. A safety school is a school that, based on your academic performance, you can probably guarantee you'll get in. A target is a school that's well within your skill range. You'll probably get in, and it's honestly a school you just want to get into. And a reach is a school where it kind of outranks how you did in high school or college, and it's like, maybe I'll get there. It's kind of like a for funsies type of thing. If you're a transfer student, there's no real regulations on how you can apply or transfer. It just depends on if the school gets back to you and says you're in, because a transfer application is really up to how the school will take your credits and how they'll take your credibility. It's not like you've never been to college before. If you're transferring, you've most likely gotten a degree. So when you transfer, they're already expecting that you have experience. They're not going to be probably be as hard on you as if you were a first year, sorry. So I honestly think that you can apply anywhere you want. It's really up to the college if they'll take you, There's no I can't really gauge an acceptance rate, like a standardized acceptance rate for all colleges, because transferring is kind of its own thing.
So in terms of transferring, I'll probably talk more about transferring here at this point. ECC actually has services called Transfer Services. It's in Building B. It's also the Student Success Center, room B120. And basically, they actually have partnership with colleges that gives scholarships and takes ECC credit for sure. And so if you graduate from here with 60 community college credits, and you move on to another university of any choice, they will most likely take all 60 credits. They'll piece them up, obviously. They might restructure them, but it is 60 credits, and there's no issues with it. So, for example, Lake Forest College, they have partnership with ECC. Elmhurst University, North Central College. I'm just looking at the rep visits here. Columbia College of Missouri, they definitely have the partnership with ECC, but you can take the bachelor's degree here and still be on this campus. Columbia College of Chicago, Chicago State University, Aurora University. I can go on and on. One monumental thing that I know of is that Roosevelt University and ECC, they actually have a partnership where they have like scholarships if you transfer to Roosevelt University. For the pharmacy program, at least when I looked at it, they offered a scholarship, I think up to like 54,000 last time I heard about it, for a graduate program. Now, you can correct me on that. However, as far as I can tell from alumni and whatnot, 54,000 to Roosevelt. And the person I'm talking about, she's currently going to pharmacy school, so.
To move on to the next question, where can I find help at ECC?
Well, I guess I might as well tie it back in here. But there's something called the Transfer Services here at ECC. It's actually located in the Student Success Center. It's actually building B, room B120. And like their phone number is 847-214-7390. So their hours, Monday through Thursday, is 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Fridays, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And basically what they can do is they can hook you up with an academic advisor who can make your full plan for transferring and kind of make sure all your credits goes over there. They can help you select a university transfer degree or maybe a career and technical degree. They basically like prepare you to transfer. They give you resources and tools for a transfer that seems seamless. They also have the opportunity to complete your bachelor's degree here through university partners. So certain universities like Columbia College of Missouri, they offer certain bachelor degrees here instead of going all the way to their college campus.
Oh yeah, like they have like the College of Columbia College here, and
Yes.
NIU.
And then Columbia College of Missouri too.
Yeah, that's the one I was.
Yeah,
Oh, you were referring to that one.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Oh, okay. Well, that's thank you for that information. So why is it important to look for help when we are doing these applications?
Well, just getting like a second person to look at what you did, how you wrote everything, how you listed everything is real important, especially since everyone has their own biases against themselves, right? People can doubt themselves, not be as confident in themselves. Oh, I only got a 3.5 GPA. There's no way I can make it to Northwestern, stuff like that, right? So it's always good to have someone else share their opinion, see what they can do to help or improve how you wrote your application or put it together. So really the main thing with having other people help you is to see another opinion, another point of view. And I think it's important to see that. So you have, I guess, a real view on how your application looks.
Makes sense. And, I actually agree with that because currently, as I said, I'm currently working on my transfer to Columbia College of Chicago. We have the chance to work on a portfolio to show our talent and express why we deserve a scholarship, which is important when you're transferring to college, universities and colleges that are out of our budgets. And I went to the writer's place for help to help me write a 2-page essay to try to convince them on why I deserve that scholarship.
Yeah, I actually went to the right place as well. That's how I finished my college apps, actually. I closed it with going to the right place. So
Yeah, and so in other words, the writer's place is also another place that can help you with transfer applications. When it comes to the writing essays side of it, just as long as you bring in a format of what the college is expecting you to write about, then the writer's place will be able to help you out. Also, make sure to bring in something written down already. Do not show up with nothing.
right, yeah. And the right place is second floor of B building. It is, I'm trying to find the room number, B274, I believe, which is basically there are some professors there that stay after their classes and help students with their essays, whether it's college apps, persuasive essays, etc.
And so keep in mind, you do not need an appointment. It is best to make an appointment so that you have an appointment reserved with that advisor that can help you write that essay, lead you into the right direction of the essay. Or you can also walk in, but just keep in mind that sometimes they would be packed with appointments. So keep in mind that it's better to just make the appointment. So we are left with open discussion. I want to start off with directing our audience with those who are interested in transferring to different to a 4-year university or to colleges to follow their degrees in bachelor's and master's. I would definitely suggest going to collegescorecard.ed.gov to make sure that the university or college that you're planning on transferring is it's in the well qualified rank, and you're not going for a university that's a low rank and probably has like a lot of dropouts and all that stuff. It's always important to check that, just because you don't want to go into the wrong university and then find out that the rates are really low compared to what you were expecting.
It also is really good to check national ratings of each university that you're attending or that you're trying to apply to. For example, if you're going to the healthcare field, it is very important you check for their graduate school as well. If they're ranked number one, it might mean that they're more competitive than the usual average graduate school. So you do have to find the balance, obviously. One big thing is to look at some state schools and to see, at least in the state of Illinois, some state-funded schools. Those for sure can partner up with ECC. They'll take your credits. It's more safety.
Yeah, I know that there is some colleges like NIU. Literally, they just look at your transfer, and if it says Elgin, then they right away accept you, which is pretty cool that we have those connections here. But yeah, it's always important to check that information. It's also good to have on your belt, because the more of a higher rating that the universities have, the better of a chance you get at getting accepted at a career later in the future.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm glad we discussed how you can better your college apps, how you can even start writing them. To our listeners here, always look to TCC for any resources that may help you in your college application process. We know it's hard and that sometimes you can get stumped on what to write. So always look to the right place in student services.
Big thanks to our listeners. A huge thank you to our editors for editing today's episode. To learn more about the Elgin Observer and to see our work, make sure to visit elginobserver.com. Follow us on Instagram at ECC Podcast and on TikTok at Elgin Observer.
Just remember that you can begin a new chapter at Columbia College of Missouri in Elgin, offering flexible, affordable degrees for real lives and real responsibilities. Located locally on the ECC campus, you can take classes in person or online, all at your own pace.
We'll see you next time.